While you, the viewers, are used to seeing plenty of cars on our channels, today we're going to shift focus to those that entice you to buy them. We're talking about the link between manufacturer and consumers. Welcome to Autocar Regional Dialogues powered by Reliance General Insurance. We're talking to dealer principals from across the country, and this time we're talking to them from the northern region. Welcome to Mr. Chetan Virmani from Indraprastha Automobiles, Delhi, Mr. Maneet Singh, Harbir Automobiles, Chandigarh. We have Mr. Siddharth Garg from Tri-City Autos, Zirakpur, and Mr. Nitin Mehan from Autopace Networks, Chandigarh. Now, these are the people that have their pulse on the market. They know what you, the consumer, wants. They know what the manufacturer is thinking of next. So they can pretty much see the future, and that's exactly what we're going to talk to them about today. Well, what, in your opinion, will be the immediate future of choice of fuels to the consumer? And I'm throwing this question open to all of you.
I think it's a hot topic these days that, the multi-fuel, hydrogen, petrol, diesel, what is the future of the natural resources, and EV being the hot topic. I still feel that, with the development, the infrastructure, which is where we are currently, petrol and diesel has still been the top choice for a common man, predominantly because of the availability and the ease of, driving experience. So EV is somewhere picking up slowly, but I guess the pace we wanted, it is not the pace that we are getting right now. So yeah, I think it's petrol and diesel what we are looking at.
I think a very smart move is that, the government is adopting buses and commercial vehicles, which are going to ply on a fixed route. So recently the minister said that, 75% buses within cities will be electric. I think that should be an excellent move because that sort of, overcomes a lot of challenges. There's no range anxiety, ease of charging. So all those things, how the ecosystem develops is one. And I think besides whatever fuel choices, what the states want in terms of the pollution, the AQI, like we're seeing in Delhi, Grab 3 comes in, Grab 4 comes in, all those things will also be very important to understand because people post-COVID have become sensitive to, better health, better environment, cleaner air. So, people are willing to go that extra, spending that extra money just to get, a better future going forward.
With all the manufacturers placing huge bets on EVs, be it born electric vehicles or hybrid electric, the future will eventually move towards EV, maybe in like 2 or 3 years, but maybe after that we can jump into hydrogen, but that would be a post-EV era, I believe.
You very interestingly, you said that, of course, internal combustion engines are here to stay. But do you think diesel will remain a choice for the future? Because we're seeing it slowly easing out.
Surprisingly, what we are seeing is that, again, it has two segments to it. A customer who's planning to buy something which is above 2000 cc still has diesel as the first choice, primarily because of the consumption of the engine. Vis-a-vis someone who's planning under 2000, I think 70 to 80% people have shifted their choice to petrol. Looking at this, I think the near future, diesel might not be a relevant fuel choice. Petrol is what is going to be with all the different governments, especially Delhi with the 10-year ban on the diesel, and whenever the AQs are high, the BS4, BS6 diesel engines are not plied on the road. So all these things really matter to a consumer that what my future is going to be if I'm buying something for next 15 years or 10 years that I'm going to keep a car. So I think immediately there is a dynamic shift to petrol. Diesel, I don't see a sustainable fuel for a longer term unless some revolutionary technology comes in.
Yeah. So, do you think hybrid, like when we're talking about, because he said hybrid, now that's a step we completely missed in India while going to the electric future, and we're kind of coming back to it right now. It is garnering steam, especially with Maruti and Toyota, now introducing them at a more affordable level. Do you think that needs some help from government? Do you think that needs a push, and that's a sensible medium-term solution to the future?
You're exactly right, and we agree with you. In fact, all the my co-dealers would also. He's from Mahindra. That the government and the government prerogative and the customer perception, they just did a jump start. From fuel straight to EV. We all forgot there's a hybrid setup which can be adapted to, and Toyota and Maruti Suzuki, in fact, they are really changing the production line to go for the hybrid facility. And, but coming back to the first point again, on the change of diesel to petrol, and then, doing a milestone between like the EV and then going to hybrid and the hydrogen, that's a step forward. The government of India really needs to work on it. They have to, kind of prompt the manufacturer first to go towards that scenario where he can manufacture, do an R&D on making that easy, cheap, or not cheap is not the word, that affordable hybrid vehicle,
Right.
or in fact the EV vehicle. The EV vehicle, I mean, most of the GST on the cars, which are fuel or diesel, they start from 29 and goes up to 55% something. On the electric vehicles, the government is giving at 5%. It's 5% GST on the electric vehicles, but which has far less contribution in the overall
Correct.
car portfolio. The hybrid has been neglected till now. The difference between the petrol in the same category and the hybrid is just 2% GST waiver.
Yeah.
So that's very less to prompt a customer to buy an initially expensive vehicle.
Correct.
And to make his mindset go towards a technology of leaving the conventional fuel behind.
And I think a very important step if we are talking about a cleaner, greener future, because it will provide a cleaner, greener interim future till people adopt EV.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, I think the starting point behind the intent behind getting hybrid is the government wants to save on the forex. I mean, trying to lessen their dependence on the fact that they have to import the entire oil from other countries. And so if we are adopting hybrids more, at least it's a first step forward without the need of any major infra change as on today.
Yeah.
If we adopt more hybrid vehicles today, we don't need any infra change at large.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also diesel we are seeing a lot of CNG penetration, especially with commercial vehicles for local use. That has also turned out to be a very big solution or big alternate, which is sort of augmenting the fact that government's dependence or our country's dependence on importing fuels has reduced. So I think shifting alternately from diesel to EVs or hybrids or CNGs with a better, I think since the last 2 years, since the government has sped up the footprint of the CNG stations, that has really given Maruti a big edge in terms of, we are the highest CNG manufacturers for India. I mean, we have an edge today that, the entire commercial fleet, Olas and Ubers, their 100% dependence is on CNG only, especially the cities where there is CNG available.
So what you're saying is correct. Because there is no need for infrastructure, the hybrid adoption will be quicker, faster, and it will make for a...
Even the CNG.
Yeah.
Even the CNG option doesn't need any infrastructure.
Well, that's because it's already been set up, but it does require an infrastructure.
Yeah, you require kits which are, you require kits, and it requires a different fueling, refueling station.
EV right now for a consumer is one, the range anxiety.
Yeah.
Second, what will happen to my car after 7 years?
Yeah.
With diesel and petrol, it's a tried tested. They know that, okay, after 7 years, X amount is the cost which I would get back when I sell my car. Whereas in EV, it's a depreciating asset.
Correct.
The battery is, it would not be the same that is today. So I guess the people are not ready right now to make EV as their primary vehicle. But yes, we are still seeing a shift as a second or a third vehicle in their house, which probably they want to use for their local commute. People are opting to EVs. So I think the gradual shift has started.
Correct.
But probably more focus towards hybrid would have made it a smoother and a wider acceptance to EVs.
Yeah. While talking about these, we also have another option, flex fuels. Are the customers aware of, ethanol and flex fuels, or is that something that they're completely oblivious about?
So I recently got to know in the two-wheeler segment, there are ethanol-ready vehicles.
Yeah.
I think 20% ethanol
Correct.
is something which they are compatible with. But just because we are from the industry, we still have a little bit of knowledge about it. So someone who's not in this industry, I don't think so. It is a topic that
also a great funny thing is that which is not being highlighted too much is the degradation of the engine when using blended fuel with ethanol is much faster.
Yeah.
So the quality of the performance of the engine is gonna, after 2 years or 3 years, you're gonna see a major reduction in the performance of the engine, which sort of is, as in not in the consciousness of people as of now, that how does that boil down to, or when you want to sell your car?
But that's also the case of CNG, LPG. You do have to, I mean, I don't think customers are aware that every so many 100 kilometers, it's better to run it on fuel for a while so that you don't degrade the engine.
Correct.
So I think the education to that level is not there right now. Diesel and petrol engines have been there since ages. I think every manufacturer has somehow, reached to its pinnacle when it comes to the performance of an engine. There used to be a time when one brand used to be better than the other because of the engine and the kilometers and the age that they used to last. I think now that topic doesn't really come that front forth. So I think every manufacturer has reached in the diesel and the petrol, but any further change from here, I think we all are pretty new and raw to this technology. So let's see how things come out.
Flexi fuel, otherwise, what does it mean? It means a blend of some percentage of ethanol in the basic crude. So India, though it's a very large producer of ethanol in this thing, but the car itself to manufacture is a costly affair. You need a lot of adaptation again. It's like having a sensor-based system and then an injection system, which will get used to changing of the fuel burning ratio. So itself is an inexpensive technology. It's much higher than the hybrids right now.
So this is my question. That
and then the delivery thing also. It delivers a lower mileage in comparison to the traditional fuel.
And this is my question, that policy is so EV, flex fuel.
Still not very clear.
Halfway on hybrid, let's get rid of ICE.
Yeah.
So do we think there needs to be a very clear direction with, okay, whatever it is, like we went from BS4 to BS6 because it has to be done and it has to be done.
It was done in a mandatory 3-year phase,
Yeah.
Government of India had given a clear mandate that by 2019, I think, diesel BS4 has to phase out. So the Supreme Court of India had done a stamping on it.
Answering your question, we are in a developing phase in terms of the country is still developing. And we need a custom solution for every state because we have, geographical differences, we have pollution issues. So I don't think at this point in time we can have a unified policy or standard thought for the entire India. Recently in our city, Chandigarh, the government tried to enforce too much of EVs. They said, they would have a quota in terms of how many IC engines would be allowed on the road. That would directly proportionate to how many electric vehicles you're selling. But eventually, people were up against them because, you can't stop mobility. Mobility is sort of a necessity. You have to have a vehicle.
And at the cost of a higher vehicle. EV was higher in cost.
And you're paying more cost, you have anxiety, and then you're not even able to allow to drive the car on the road. So all those things so I think it's a mix. We need to understand NCR for that matter. The air quality is a big issue. So we can probably deal that city differently, and probably places where more development is needed, people are still not connected. So they can have a different solution for that. So I think it has to be a hybrid so far. If it is the flexible situation as of now, I think we are still okay to go back to a point.
Hybrids is the key word.
Yeah, hybrid is the key word.
It's the way we go with flex fuels or whether we promote them.
I mean, that's the right kind of gradual approach towards moving.
So since we're on the subject of hybrid, how difficult is it to make your dealerships hybrid, dealing with different fuel options? Like now you've got some EVs, you've got some ICE, flex fuel, CNG. So how difficult is it, for after sales, for setting up your service?
So as far as sales is concerned, our dealerships is not really a challenge because, manufacturers do step in with a lot of trainings and everything. But going down the line, because, when we have to explain to a customer who is probably not so literate, what is the smart hybrid, what is the full hybrid, what is electric and how it works. So that becomes more challenging, as far as sales is concerned. But yes, when the customer comes and he's spoiled for choices, acha, diesel bhi hai, there is petrol, there is electric, there is this. So there is a bit of confusion. You are spoiling the customer for choices, one. And as far as the service side also is concerned, we will have to gear up because, when we are servicing electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, then working in high currents, the training, the safety measures, the standards, all those have to be, the level has to go much higher up. One good thing is that, because the electrics or the hybrid is fairly higher in price so far.
Yeah.
So the larger sector of people who are coming to adapt to those vehicles are better literate than the ones who are buying the smaller ones or, who are just upgraded from a two-wheeler to a four-wheeler for the first time. So there's still explaining the customer is still okay so far, but I think with time, so other manufacturers, let's say Tata is giving low-cost electric vehicles. For them, I think it should be more challenging than what it is right now.
Yeah.
So what we feel right now is that a very set segment of customer is walking into the showroom to look at the electric. The ones who are coming, they're pretty clear what they want. When it comes to the trainings, yes, we have separate set of consultants only to take care of the EV vehicles. Back in the workshops, there are a lot of trainings, a lot of equipments have been taken into place. Again, as he said, high voltage safety is a concern for our own technicians as well. So it's something which we are also now getting used to of. But it is a difficult situation wherein there are two customers, one who wants an ICE engine and one who wants an EV, because the sales pitch is completely different and contradicting to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in addition to all that, the challenge where the challenge comes in is that inventory management. You already have so many variants there; they just double up as soon as you add a new thing in the market, like be it petrol, diesel, or maybe hydrogen will come in the future. The inventory management becomes a problem because the variants just develop, and
they have to add a lot of the stocks, inventory management.
Yeah, in the workshop as
variants.
well, you have to have separate spare parts for that. So the inventory management becomes a challenge.
So the manpower goes up, inventory goes up, your training expense. So a lot of things actually get into
machinery cost
and
everything.
One product which is different from the others into the showroom. It's not just that we just position one product inside the showroom and we start selling.
Correct.
I think there are a lot of things that go behind it which probably not many people would know. But there's a lot of infra, a lot of investment that actually goes into it.
Yeah, right now it's a very mixed up ratio. I think we need a clear directive on the way forward.
Yeah.
We can't talk in a room like this and discuss, what the thing is. It's the government which has to take a bold step on how to move forward.
While the government does, have to take that step, and eventually it is their decision, what do you think the sense or the pulse? What does the consumer want out of the future?
Consumer ultimately, he's concerned about the environment. It's such a wild, it's such a discussed topic everywhere. Global warming, then pollution, then the things arising out of that. It's such a discussed topic now. So yes, the customer is concerned about the green print and everything.
So in my opinion, I don't find that to be true. I'm sorry. The consumer is centered towards his savings.
Correct.
He's
cost-centered.
Yeah, he's just
so that comes
comes
as a final effect. But I mean, you talk to a customer, yes, he's concerned about the environment
too.
too.
Choice to a customer, wherein his range anxiety is taken care of, and the infrastructure, he feels that the infrastructure is ready. That
up to mark, yeah.
If I want to do a 500-kilometer trip with a family, I would not be halted somewhere. I think they do want to get into the EV segment, but it is these small little things that are hampering them to make that switch. Saying that it's such a fast technology that is changing and evolving. Today, I think when EV started, it was almost double the price of a ICE engine.
Correct.
And today we still have cars which are like 10 lakhs, 11 lakh rupees, and you can get an EV on road. So I think things are changing. People do want to get into that segment, but I think these are small little hiccups that they have. If we can take care of those things, EV would be much widely accepted.
The infrastructure is not there and everything.
I think it's all about everything
stations.
Comes down to infra only in the end.
Yeah.
If you want to make a trip, like a 500-kilometer trip today from this point, you need to have that sufficient infra on the way to stop, brake, charge. So that if all that is convenient, then probably you can shift faster.
I mean, there are so many live examples, on various forums on internet wherein people did try to have those trips, 300 kilometer, 400 kilometer, and they have shared their live experiences. That, I went, there was a halt. There was just one charger at that place. Already somebody was charging. By the time I put my charging, the light went off. So, you have different practical challenges right now. And if that can be taken care of, I think EV is the future.
Like a farmer Andolan would take care of the EV thing, You will be on the highway
but
waiting for a charging station.
Primary problem in our country, isn't it? I mean, that we do not have 24-hour electricity in most places for the entire country to be able to run EV. So I think that is a challenge that one has to solve first.
I think this is something which we also discussed when, the Chandigarh EV policy was there, that imagine a scenario wherein 50% of people have shifted to EV. Do we have the grid to support that kind of?
Do we have the grid or
do
not?
we have the grid to get that kind of electricity to the city? So I think there are major questions that needs to be answered. EV, yes, that
What
is
is
the
the
future.
source of that as well? Because
Correct.
you're just shifting pollution source.
Yeah, you're shifting it to coal.
So there's a lot of, I think, those are
Coal,
debates that
solar,
we
yeah,
really
yeah.
have to think through in our country. Of course,
So it is
battery
not a
scrapping
very-
is another
yes,
whole
correct. It is not a very simple
discussion.
topic. I think
Yeah.
it needs a whole lot of debates, discussions, and thought process from our leaders to find a right path on which we would want to go. And yes, it is high time that we figure out what path we want to choose, because right now there are about 10 different things in the market, and if we as dealer community get confused, I'm sure the customer would be even more confused than us.
Funny thing is, I spoke to some people who are users of electric vehicles. The upkeep, which no one's talking about, whether these charging points are working, they are on the grid. You can see them on Google. Okay, you're going to travel to this point. There are 2 charging points. The charging points, when you arrive to that spot to charge a vehicle, they are not working. They're non-functional.
Yeah, they're
And
non-functional.
they are slow chargers or something or the other. And people are traveling with that hope that, okay, I'm going to travel to this distance. There are 2 points. I'm going to charge myself here. And when it gets there, the charger is shut.
I've
And it's
often
been shut
spent
for a long, long time.
the whole night charging a car because we've reached there saying that it's a fast charger, but it really isn't a fast
It doesn't
charger.
work.
So.
Doesn't work
Yeah,
that way.
those are the challenges. But just to wrap up, because we've had a wonderful discussion, if I were to give you the choice and say it's your decision, what would be your choice of the future?
I won't say that the diesel would eventually go off. No, it won't. Every, fuel base would have a contribution in 2030-32. You can't say that diesel is going to go to zero. No, it won't. Some places like close to rural places would have a diesel penetration. You need those agriculture equipments and everything. So nothing would go out of line. It would be a combination and a mixture of everything. Maybe EV gets a penetration of 25%. Hybrids have a penetration of 35%. Petrol has a penetration of again a mix of 20-25. So it would work out that way eventually in the country. And then 2030 beyond, it would, yes, hydrogen would be a look forward toward in the future.
I think being very specific, putting a question very specific to passenger vehicle in urban areas, I think for now hybrids and electric. These 2 should give us a good combination because people have more than 1 cars. So you are probably countering your anxiety by having a hybrid vehicle which you can use for longer commutes. And you can have an electric vehicle which sort of can give you a closer service. That I think should be a good yeah.
I think for me, it will be the primary car would be a hybrid or a conventional fuel. Maybe the second or the third car, if you have, that can be electric for the regular errands. So I think, as he rightly said, that going forward, every fuel is going to stay. It will just have their own percentage of preferences. So that's for me.
Yeah, I agree with all of them.
Yeah.
Hybrid should be the primary vehicle. If I were the consumer, I would buy the hybrid vehicle as well as my primary vehicle, and then for sure I would keep EVs in the fleet as well. They are fun to drive. I personally have an EV right now, but the infrastructure will have to develop before I can drive them confidently. Like you were saying earlier, that you take the EV to a charging station and then it doesn't charge up as the station says. I haven't even had the guts to try them yet. So the infrastructure will have to develop to a certain level where the consumers are confident.
For the confidence to build. Well, it's been a fantastic discussion over here, but there's one thing that's definitely emerged out of this discussion, that the future is hybrid. We are going to see a variety of fuels for quite a while in the future, but we also need to see some subsidies on hybrids because these are the cars that can fill the interim gap to EV while the infrastructure gets sorted out. Thank you for watching, and we hope you've enjoyed it.